Hello YouTube, my name is Brian. I'm going to show you some things in the plain of Troy. The plain of Troy is here on the corner of Turkey where the waterway comes down from the Black Sea, meets the Mediterranean here, the Aegean Sea actually. This right here, this strip, this is the plain of Troy. If you zoom in down here, this is one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world. The city of Troy. The Bronze Age walls run right in here. So directly in front of the citadel of Troy here, you have this creek. It's a canal actually. It goes all the way down here and runs out and heads out to sea here. Right? Okay. Everything to the west of that, if you look close to it, right, close to it on the west edge, everything rises up. Everything's going uphill here, right? And in here it's going uphill that direction, and here this direction. So, you know, look at this turn. Uphill, then flat, then downhill. Uphill, flat, downhill. Uphill, flat, downhill. You don't think that's uphill? You think it might be flat? Get on Google satellite view and look for yourself. I mean, what do you think? What's closer to your eye? This right here or this over here? Which is closer to your eye? Get on Google satellite view and look at this for yourself. Yeah, look over here for the downhill, right? Yeah, that doesn't seem downhill to you? Yeah, it does to me. Now this is the far north edge of this area. If the land seems to be going uphill in here, up to a relatively flat area, then downhill to another relatively flat area, uphill to another raised area, and then downhill again over toward the river. So you're going uphill, downhill, flat, uphill, flat, downhill. You know, I just think human interventions are causing that, and I'd like to have an explanation. I think there's something under the ground there, probably a city. Let's take another look here. This land is going uphill, then it goes into what I believe is a marsh. So it's kind of flattening out and then downhill into a marsh or low spot, and then, you know, it rises up again, just like this is doing up here. Right, there's a downhill, a low spot here. Well, this is another low spot on the other side of the road. This white stripe is a road. Take a look at this. These are canals, right, that have the vegetation around them. Take a look at that, a pipeline of some kind. It seems to be draining a marsh. That's why I think it's a marsh. I don't know what all this white stuff is in here. And I'm not positive that that's a marsh, but it makes sense that that would be another low spot, like the low spot across from it there, and then rise up in here somewhere, and you know, be arable land again. It just seems to me that there must be a reason why this land is not being farmed, and you know, marshiness is a reason that would make sense. This seems to be marshy as well, right in here. This is the ancient citadel. And across here, 3 miles or more, right in here is a marsh inside this prominence. And on the back side of this prominence is a cut through the coastline. You can see it right there. There's a little edge, a little line there showing where the cut runs. The cut is 60 feet deep. There's a 90-foot cliff out here. And the cut goes around 60 feet into the coastline. So it stops around 30 feet above sea level. And it's quite wide, much wider than it would need to be if it was a drain. Now, I always thought this was draining a marsh, but in all likelihood, it's something more important than just draining a marsh. It's far too big to be really a drain, and you wouldn't have to go that deep to drain it. You could drain it if you just went several feet lower than the marsh. All the water would run out that direction. You don't have to go 60 feet deep, and you don't have to be as wide as this.
This is the coast towards the Aegean. There's a 30 to 60 meter high cliff here. And in this cliff, you have this artificial cut that is 500 meters long and leads to a basin that is now silted up that would have been an artificial port.
This is that photograph that Dr. Zanger was just pointing at. I want to emphasize these curves right here. Look how smooth that is. Look how smooth that one is. You know, this is made by human beings. It's wide enough to drive a truck down, and it's ancient, and it just simply hasn't been studied. In spite of the fact that Troy is right across the way, and this is probably a part of the story of Troy, and always should have been, and yet it isn't. And I just find it astounding that this is not a part of the story. And if archaeology was a person, I'd just like to say, you know, the reason none of us know about this is because you don't know about it. And I wish you'd find out. Another thing is that the plain itself has been primarily, you know, not studied. And you can tell if you look at the things that I'm going to point out to you. This right here is a marsh. Now, the plain of Troy is a floodplain. Should be pretty even all the way through there. Why there's a marsh there, I can't tell you. Could be as a result of human endeavors. But one thing that's going on here is that there's a structure in it. Take a look at that. Right here. It's on both sides of the roadway and canal area here. This is a canal with a road next to it. You know, I don't know if that's modern. I really doubt it. I think that's probably ancient. I really don't know. But it's right there in the plain of Troy. I don't think it's ever been explored. And I want to show you some other features that I don't believe have ever been looked at or noticed. Right here is a berm. This is man-made. This is a raised earth anomaly in the plain of Troy. You want to look at the size? There you go, over 3,000 feet. That's over half a mile. Right next to this, you have a declivity. See it? It's a hole in the ground right there. There's right there's a tenth of a mile-ish. That's pretty big. Now next to that is another mound right here. This mound, 1,300 feet wide. Okay. Well, those have never been discussed either, but they're easy to see on Google satellite view. Now here's another feature, another mound, a really, really big one right here. Look at the floor of the valley right here, very flat, and then look how it rises up right here. It makes a big hill right here. Okay, so that's another raised earth anomaly. So we have 3 raised earth anomalies and 1 declivity. Now here's another declivity. Look at this big hole in the ground right here. Check this out. From the village here, you go downhill to the first canal and then keep going downhill. Over here, you come downhill and then you go out flat, right? And down here, you just come downhill and go out flat. Not here. There's a big hole in the ground down here, right? And this is all laying on a big incline. But why is there an incline? Why is there a declivity in this floodplain? This is a photograph from my blog. It shows declivities, unexplained declivities in the plain of Troy, 5 of them. One of them is this area on the north side of the Tell, what I think is a city, north side of the city. This is on the south side, another declivity. This is a declivity. This marsh is a declivity. And of course this cut through the coastline is a declivity. All 5 of those declivities seem unnatural. Now I want to challenge archaeologists, historians, geographers, and others to explain this. What's doing this in the plain of Troy? What's doing that right there? Why is there a hole here? Why is there a mound here? Why is there a hole here and a mound on that side and a big long berm right here? What's that all about? Where did it come from? Why are they there? Who are the people that created it? You know, tell us the story, and tell us the story of this cut through the coastline, and especially tell us the story of this mound. What is it? Is it a natural phenomenon, or is it man-made? Prove me wrong, but this is a city right here. See it? All through here. This is a city. This down here, some kind of flood control, I figure. I don't know why there's a marsh over here, but there is. It's marked over here on this old map from the 1850s, and this these markings in here indicate low ground, marshes, swampy hollows. He writes here. The map maker, Mr. Spratt. Down here, a deep bed. Over here on the picture, here's the deep bed. right? So he recognizes the same thing as me. The explanation, finally, for what's causing this low ground up here on this end of the mound will be extremely interesting. Possibly there's a collapsed part of the city under there. Possibly this was their harbor. Maybe the sea came all the way back into here and this was their harbor. Who knows why this is a low area. They may have dug it themselves. The people who lived here may have dug on this to try and keep their bay open or something like that. At any rate, there's a lot to think about. If this was a great city, then it was the biggest city in the Aegean by far, and would have been possibly the home of a superpower. And that's another thing to think about with the Bronze Age collapse and in ancient history. Troy is extremely important, and it looks like it really was a great city, not just a little fortress on a hill, not just a little fortress town of 10,000, but a great big thriving metropolis about a mile wide.